Hey everyone, this is Nick with Inflatable Office. In this session, we're going to be talking about organizations and using organizations as an expanded database of our customers page. Um, Kind of shifting the perspective from a lead and event focus that we're usually having within the software here to a more client-centric perspective. We'll look at how we can use organizations as a tool to group our customers, kind of for enhanced management of that customer database. Benefits being some streamlined statements and some invoicing abilities, improved CRM practices, and the ability to manage attachments better for our organizations and customers. Let's first just kind of look at what we see here on the organization screen. It's a pretty simple breakdown of our organizations. It's just the date that it was created, the name of the organization. This total here is the total dollar amount for all confirmed events that the organization has had or will have. And this amount due here is, of course, the amount that's due on these events here. Like your leads and event screen, you have the ability to add some filters in here. And we'll just make quick mention of these because this part's probably better served for a CRM module here. But here in the organizations, we have these presets that's to do, my stuff, my groups, and opportunities. The to do here, these are just things that are tasks that are to be assigned here. My stuff would be things that you have done or are assigned to you. And my groups are things that are assigned to anybody within your group. So at risk of giving any further false information, we'll just breeze over that and say that you also have the ability to implement filters for your organizations. You couldn't think of any great examples of filters that you would use for organizations other than maybe like you want to see your big spender organization. So we just want to only look at organizations that have spent more than $3,000, I think is what I designated for this filter. That would be a case that you could implement a filter to view here. And you can also use reports to report on different fields here in your organizations. And this one I called organization sales rep activity. And it just shows, along with the organization, the sales rep that's assigned their last journal activity, contact, email, some other fields that you might find relevant to your organizations rather than just this default field here. Before we start looking at the organizations and how we manage and handle those, I want to draw attention to something here in general preferences. So go to your settings and general preferences, and we have the setting that's automatic organization creation. This is just determining whether or not organizations are being created automatically when your leads are being created. If this is off, then you will manually control your organization creation just by adding organizations that way. But if this is on, then anytime that you have that organization field filled in, it's going to just automatically create that organization and store that in your database. This setting here will just use your customer name if the organization name isn't present. So that's going to create an organization literally for every lead then. And then it's going to be important to pay attention to these customer settings and the merge settings that go along with it. The defaults, I believe, is just going to have all of these checked, which is very specific. It means that every bit of information has to match before any customer profiles are going to be merged together. If there's any variation at all in the email address, or if maybe even they put in a different phone number, if they got a new phone number over the last year and they put in a new one this year, it's going to create a whole new customer profile for them. So decide how you would like that to be managed. Maybe you want a less strict policy that's only requires, like, I think email is a pretty good one because that's kind of specific to a person, and they're going to continue to carry that with them. So maybe full name and email would be a less strict way to manage those merge settings there. Just be wary of that if you do, especially if you have the automatic organization creation on, how those customer merge settings are behaving there as well. So we know that our customers oftentimes aren't just individuals. They're acting on behalf of larger entities like corporations, schools, agencies, departments, and churches. So for that reason, it makes sense why we would want to look at our client database from an organizational perspective rather than just individual customers or from the traditional leads and events perspective. Because while we might not care so much to look at the the history of an individual like Dan Smith that one time ordered for a church festival. We do care more about the organizational history of that mega church that he was working on behalf, and seeing more of their lead history and maybe more of their CRM history and the notes that we've had associated with that organization. Or maybe we want to bill um, that organization as a whole for multiple events, or we want to have some attachments or some documents of interest that are close by anytime we're accessing that organization. That's why we would use the organizational perspective more so than just looking at our customer database. So you can have multiple customer profiles within underneath one organizational umbrella, and you can have an individual, a customer, not a customer profile, because a customer profile is going to be unique to an organization. But let's say an individual like Dan Smith, he may have one customer profile with the mega church here, but he also may have some other work that he does where he has a customer profile that's also part of our rock comedy club. So I don't want to say customer, because customer kind of refers more to the customer profile, which again is unique to the organization, but an individual can have multiple customer profiles that would be included in multiple organizations, just as you can have multiple customers under an organization. So let's open one up and we can start looking. We're going to jump down to the customers first. And you can see these are all of the customers that are considered a part of the Rock Comedy Club organization here. They all have customer profiles associated with the organization. And thus any lead that is made with this customer profile is going to be tied to this organization. And that CRM information is going to carry over to this organization. That lead is going to carry over into the events here, which we'll touch on in a moment. And that's kind of how it ties all that organizational information together here. You can add customers to your organization straight from this record here. So let's say I see another customer that, they should be, they actually belong to this organization too. You can add and remove them from here as well and manage it that way. And the attachments here, so this would be for things, I guess, what comes to mind would be site maps or certain contracts, documents that are pertinent to that organization. Maybe they're W-9 or other documents, of course, something that you would want to store here in the organizations. The documents or the attachments that are here, rather, aren't going to populate directly onto a lead that is created with that organization. So just because you put in a customer profile or an organization on a new lead, it's not going to bring these attachments to that lead. It's not really useful for that purpose, but you could just copy over those attachments and bring them to the lead. So it leaves a nice place for all of that information to be housed here in the attachments. The CRM, again, this is going to be relevant to all leads that have been created with this organizational profile here. So anytime, we don't have to come here to add journals or to add any CRMs. We could just do that from a lead that contains the Rock Comedy Club organization on it, and we would be able to see the entire history of the organization here in the CRM. Jumping to the events. The events that are viewable here are calendar events. So this is mostly events that are confirmed, completed, or in the past here. It's not going to be anything quoted or beneath. And there's a few ways that you can filter these events here that have been pre-designated. So past events is anything that has been completed, so the event date is in the past. Of course, event date's in the future. Anything upcoming. Open is anything that has a balance, and closed is anything where the entire balance has been paid. This is useful, one, for viewing, but also just for the invoicing function that it allows us to. That's when you have this open filter selected and you were to email a statement. And we should jump to saying first, before you can do anything with this email statement, there's a couple things you got to do. And one is activating a template in your email center. I think that's called customer invoice account statement. You'll have to have this activated to be able to have available to send an account statement to your customers from organizations. So make sure first that that is active. And then you need to have an account statements template created in contract templates. So I went to settings, jumped to contract templates. I have one here already, but you would have to go to add contract, and the category is account statement. So you'll just want to make sure that you have one of those created. You'd select that as your defaults. And you can also edit this template, of course, if you want to put your own designer form on this email template, you could do so, but you can see kind of the form that it takes by default is it's going to break down balances and leads from the past 1 month, 2 months, 1 month, 1 to 2 months, 2 to 3 months, and over 3 months with a total amount due here. And jumping back to the organization, how you can control what events are being included into this template here. Is by, again, just selecting your filter here. So if I have all my open leads and I email a statement, the statement's going to include anything that's in this open filter here. You could tighten it a little closer there by selecting those individually, or you could just even email statements for individual events if we want to do it that way. But that's how you can control organizational billing and billing events together. Also make payments. I think it's going to show payment history from here as well. I probably don't have much to do there because I don't actually do much for test payments here, but I think it's going to show a full payment history for the organization here too, where you do at least clearly have the ability to take payments for your organization from the screen too. Last thing we'll pay a little attention to here is the payment terms section in the organization's record. And this won't do anything automatically unless you have global payments. But if you do have global payments, it gives you the ability to bill automatically based on these payment terms. That can either be by lead or billing the organization as a whole for all events then. And you can either use default settings for your deposits and balances. So this will bill according to your defaults, or you can override with custom settings and set how many days before or days after the lead start or the lead book that you would like to collect those payments. If you do not use global payments, you can still use this payment terms as a template to display the customer's payment terms either on their invoices or their contracts, but it's not going to do anything to actually take payments from them. And that's the gist of what we have to look at in organizations here. In summary, I don't think you're ever going to be able to completely eliminate your need to be able to navigate through the leads and events there. But this organizations area does help us to be able to manage the client base a little bit better and just do some of the different tasks and managing the organization in some of the ways that we've looked at here. Hope that's helpful. Thank you.